Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. Hi guys, this is Braden, or Igloo-Dude11 as you know me best.
And this is Braden's good friend Nick.
2 years ago, me and Nick saw the first Transformers, and both of us liked it. So naturally, when we saw the trailer for the first sequel, I practically bought my movie tickets a year ahead. So it only makes sense that I came out of this movie pleased, right? Sorry to disappoint you, but no. If you guys are looking for an epic action Friday night movie, you're in the right place. But if you're going to find something much more, you must have made a wrong turn in Albuquerque.
My main complaint with this movie was the same problem I had with the first one. Too much Shia Labeuf, not enough giant robots. It seems like Bay somehow heard my complaints, and with tremendous creativity and insight, he made the problem even worse. Shia Labeuf has jumped up his 50% domination of the first movie to 80% domination of this one. Great, so we got 100 minutes of Shia Labeuf demonstrating his skill at portraying someone who only exhibits the emotions of panic and panic! This must be the lead up to a huge, awesome robot fight, huh? Well, no. It doesn't actually lead up to anything. The actual robot fights are only breaks from the teen sitcom we got in place of an action movie. Most of the scenes involving robots are only ones with the kids running away from them anyway, which isn't nearly exciting as watching them actually fight. What's the plot of the sequel? Well, Michael Bay dives deeper into Transformers mythology by bringing in somebody who's a bigger dick than Megatron, the Fallen. And this guy's plans are as bad for humanity as his predecessor. With this, more robots from both the Autobot and Decepticon sides come to battle, even bigger than before. Some faces are old, some are new.
And there comes the movie's first flaw. While in the first Transformers there were roughly 13 robots, the number grows more than this movie can handle. From the beginning, new characters are brought in with hardly any introduction, and many of them aren't even given names. Even some of the designs are pretty similar. There was a scene at the end of the movie where I thought Megatron had been killed at the side of the screen, only to see him alive and still fighting about 3 seconds later. Who was this character? I don't know. What was his point in the movie? Beats me.
Some of these characters don't even have a purpose in the film. Tyrese, Gibson, and the new British recruit for the military team lack any point in this film, and agreeably another character to suffer this fate was Megatron.
As much as I liked Megatron's character in the first movie, his role had no relevance in this film. He had more screen time than the Fallen, the movie's primary antagonist. They should have just had Starscream take over from Megatron and cut him out entirely. There was no reason for him to come back from the dead. And adding to that, one thing I liked about Megatron in the first movie were the digital effects on his voice. Before, I was impressed at how they managed to disguise Hugo Weaving, but in this movie, it's pretty recognizable.
On the other hand, with The Fallen, the plot seems to get deeper, and the tone of the film becomes more life-threatening than the movie before it. We thought all the technology on Earth coming to life is bad. Just wait until we see what the Decepticons have in store for the humans.
I thought that The Fallen was a great choice for a new villain. Tony Todd was the perfect choice for this guy's voice and gave him a bone-chilling presence. This was someone that even Megatron had respect for. His backstory is very intriguing, it's just that it's not brought to life very well. He's not even riding shotgun while Megatron does all the work. The film's improved in both action and music, and while the performances aren't great around the clock, there are scenes when you really feel for these people and robots. When some characters are killed, you really feel for them. In others, not so much.
In fact, the robots that get without a doubt the most screen time before any other are two miserable little pieces of comedy relief called Mudflap and Skids, who are otherwise completely useless, but are valuable for getting easily amused children to laugh through irrelevant gangster references. When the robots who get the most screen time are the ones who only fight between themselves and are the Transformer equivalent of an Oompa Loompa, you gotta wonder if you're in the right movie. The main problem with the two gangsta midget bots isn't the so-called racist stereotypes, but rather the fact that such stereotypes are the only thing the writers could think of for a personality. None of the robots in either movie had much personality. In the first film, with the exception of Ironhide, all the robots act and talk roughly the same, and seem more to be sidekicks to the humans than vice versa. Big mistake. In the cartoon, it is quite clear that the humans were only around to keep the robots entertained by taking them to museums or something to that effect, once in a while so they can introduce the main theme of the plot. No longer. Instead of pummeling each other, the robots shoot each other from cover, as if not to make the Marines feel left out. Let's talk about the comedy. I understand that a movie sometimes needs to make the audience laugh, but in certain scenes, the comedic sketches, run for what seems for like 5 minutes, to the point where you're begging for the movie to continue with its plot. There's even a scene where Simmons is pleading with one of the robots to stop talking and get back to the plot.
In parts of the dialogue, it feels incredibly rushed. People are talking a mile a minute in what are some pretty relevant scenes. I'm going to have to watch this movie again on DVD and put on subtitles while in slow motion. That being said, I did like the subplots in this movie. That is, wherever you could find one. It pretty much seems like the only two basic ones are Sam rising into manhood and the growing relationship between him and Mikaela. They were pretty much carried out very well, despite the overcrowding of comedy and action.
One of the principal Shia running for his dear life scenes in the movie involves the gang going to an aeronautics museum to meet an old transformer from before Optimus was out of robo-diapers. Almost immediately I thought, holy hell! Cup! They put Cup in the movie! Awesome! Cup was an old Autobot from the original cartoon who turned into a pickup truck. But I can't expect him to be a car from the 20s to 40s. Instead we get an old former Decepticon dressed up as an old jet. That's alright, I guess, but wait. The jet he turns into is an SR-71 Blackbird, a plane introduced in the mid-60s and retired in 1999. What does this imply? So the robot from the 60s has been considered ancient. How long do these guys live? I mean, my grandfather's older than the plane and considerably more healthy than the robot itself. Michael Bay probably looked at the Blackbird and thought it was cool, but I like to think that he doesn't understand the concept of time.
The visual effects are great and as detailed as ever. Michael Bay chooses this time to show closer interactions with the Transformers and humans, including close-ups of their faces, as well as parts where it looks like they're actually touching each other. But for the sequel, it seems like they decide to pick and choose what to focus on for digital effects. And Nick has a prime example to support that argument.
During the scene where the Decepticons are dragging Megatron's ass out of the Laurentian abyss, there's squids on his face. Squids or octopi or whatever. And they look completely fake. Despite the fact that the squids probably can't even live down there. They look like the gophers, the CGI gophers from Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Not unlike the first movie, Revenge of the Fallen trails along with product placement. Fortunately, it's not as suffocating as the first movie was, but it's not a lot lower either. They still repeatedly use the film as an attempt to advertise random products and technology, especially cars. I admit that one's a given, but there are some scenes where whenever Bumblebee's in his car form, it's like you're watching a commercial for a Chevrolet Camaro. I thought that this was a great action movie and a great sequel, but at the same time, it had a lot of unnecessary stuff in it. My rating is a 6 out of 10 at most.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and give it a 3 out of 10. Because 70%, or 7 points out of 10, were Shia LaBeouf running around, running away from robots, getting in these crappy comedic relief situations, and those were all the bad parts of the movie. All the bad parts of the movie were ones with no action.